start into this right now. Look, I'm Sarah Larson. I am owner of Wake Up Coaching, and I have this beautiful, amazing woman here, Ashley Wilson. And the reason why we're coming here together in this space is because I don't want to keep things pretty. I want people to know the raw and the real of trauma, of life, of healing, of setting goals and creating them and getting out there and being the person that you want to be. And that's what we're here to do today is, both of us were in a space of we lost ourselves along the way in life. And we knew that this wasn't who we wanted to be. And we knew that there was another way, but at some point we didn't know what that other way looked like. And I don't know about you, but I went all the traditional ways, right? I went to counseling and I did all the things. I was diagnosed with all the diagnoses of chemical depression and anxiety. And all they wanted to do was throw me a pill until I found one therapist that said, hey, I honor. And how about start with visualization? And so from that point, it was like a gateway for me to just kind of take control and then just kind of go from there. But I'm going to let Ashley introduce herself and kind of give you a little bit about where we're at. And this conversation is just very flowing, right?
Sounds
So
good.
introduce yourself, Ashley.
Thank you, Sarah. So I am Ashley Wilson. I am a single mom to three little boys. They are 8, 6, and 3 years old. I am the founder of two companies. One is Jaw Analytics, and the other is Persephone AI. And I'm also the head of insurance for a Texas auto company. And I really specialize in building companies and bringing ideas to life and partnering with founders or working on my own things that have a strong community impact. But I really enjoy data analytics and iterating on things that you can see in the numbers that will reach people and be meaningful for people. With all that being said, though, I think where I've probably got the most hours of experience is in trauma and trauma management. And that is not from a career aspect and not from an academic aspect, but that is because I feel like I've been studying for it my whole life. And when I started to really get clear on what I wanted in my life and how I was going to design my own reality and how I was going to do that in front of my children, and I was going to do it on the hard days and the tired days, I had to really stare down the fact that I didn't have a good working model for what that life would look like. And I needed to figure out how to create it for myself. And that took a lot of digging in and a lot of crying and a lot of long nights where I found my way.
Yeah, and I can feel you so much on that and so big. And I'm going to ask you the same. Like, before you went your own way, did you reach out for help? Did you try to go the traditional way, counseling, things like that?
I did start off there. And so in my 20s, I was a pretty high achiever. And I was not a mom yet, and I was rising in my career. And I had a lot of unresolved trauma that honestly, at that juncture, it probably had been so normalized for me that I didn't even know to call it trauma. It wasn't trauma, it was my life.
Right,
It was
for sure.
normal. That was what I knew. And it started to present physically in my body. And I would have these physical sensations, reactions to things. And I saw medical doctors a couple of times. And the first time a doctor looked at me and said, "You're fine. You're having a somatic response to stress." And I thought, this guy's out of his mind. And I said, "Are you crazy?" And he goes, "No, are you crazy?" And I was like, I mean, what do you mean my body is responding to stress? Um, and so it would take me years from that conversation to understand that my body was telling me things.
Yeah.
And I had pretty good control over my mind, but because maybe I was suppressing the emotional side, the processing side, in an effort to just keep moving through the world and showing up the way I wanted to, my body would start reacting to it. And that was really difficult for me to understand that that could happen. Years later, my therapist would recommend to me the book called The Body Keeps Score, and how
Mm-hmm.
trauma stores in the body.
Yeah.
But I was fascinated as I went on this self-discovery journey that going, why don't we tell everyone this? Like, welcome to
Yes.
adulthood. And by the way,
You
your
need to
body,
know this.
yeah,
Correct.
your body is going to communicate with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I had to find it out in pieces and I just don't think it was nearly as effective as it could have been.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did start there. I started with medical doctors, a couple of appointments. I didn't want to take medication. And then it would take until I was about 36 years old and I would
Yeah.
start trauma therapy. And
Okay.
really out of necessity. By the time I got there, my nervous system was almost in complete shutdown. I could not drive my car out of Kingwood without having a debilitating panic attack. I burned out in my career. I walked away from my six-figure job and I was a shell of who I once was. And I was like, I can't live like this.
I'm about to cry. I'm about to cry. And the reason why is I can't tell you how many people have come to me, have said the exact same thing, um, and seeking help. And the reason why I do what I do now is because I became that person as well, right? I was unfulfilled in a career I dreamed of. I went to school for physical therapy and that didn't fulfill me anymore
Right.
because I made it my identity, but there was something different calling. My body was calling me, right? I was having the same thing, reactions, rashes, skin things,
Mhm.
gut things, and I had no idea. And I don't know about for you, but I was aware of my trauma. I knew that it was there. I knew that because I was going through counseling to help me with this, that one day I would have to go deep into that closet, but I kept shutting that door. And like when a skeleton, like a claw would come out, I'm like, no, 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 not today. Like
Another
I'm not
time.
ready to
Yeah.
really get into that. And
Right.
for me, I was scared. I was scared that I suppressed so many things that I was only aware of the surface. I was scared of what was really deep in there, like just oozing with infection, to be honest. And it wasn't until just like you said, it was necessity. I'd lost myself. I was having the anger and the rage and the panic attacks and the anxiety attacks. And just like you, it started in my 20s and
Mhm.
I still suppressed it. But when I had babies, that was my why because I knew that I was going to recreate the next into them as well, because this was for me a generational thing,
Absolutely.
which that generational thing, just like I'm sure you can affirm this as well, is I attracted because I thought it was normal for the abuse. I thought it was normal to be in a relationship that was verbally and physically abusive. So I stayed in those relationships until I said no more, only to get in another one that was a little bit better, right?
Right.
And it was just continuing over and over and over again, um, until I think, just like you said, you have to become, I love how you said this, clear on what you desire.
Yeah.
Until you become super clear on what you desire, you're just going to relive those same things that you've been imprinted, right?
It's absolutely true. And I'm sorry that you've been on that journey. I mean, I know how long it can be to hit those points where you find a pivotal new direction for your life. But I firmly believe that you have to be able to reinvent yourself and you have to get clear on your purpose, what you want to accomplish. Um, and accomplish does not have to be brass ring and notoriety. Accomplished can be, I want to wake up peaceful at 6 o'clock in the morning. I want to sink in and enjoy every moment with my babies while they're babies. Accomplished just means these are the things that I will prioritize. They are non-negotiable for me and
Non-negotiable.
non-negotiable. And I feel like there's been at least 3 points for me as an adult where I've gone to the drawing board and genuinely redesigned my life into
Yeah.
what I needed it to be next and where I was ready to go next. But it's concerning to me because like you said, it was normal for you. And so you were in these relationships, and then you might iterate and get a little bit better, but you do recreate them. And I align with the part about motherhood too, because I think that until I was a mom and until that responsibility was my own, that really forced me to go, okay, so you don't have a good working model. It doesn't matter. You need to get one, and you need to get it really quick, because
Yeah.
these children are experiencing you all the time. And so, how do I impress upon them a version of a caregiver that I want them to, one, feel absolutely safe with, know they can rely on, and then carry it forward in our lineage? And so, to me, generational trauma is so prevalent throughout our society that we're not even calling it what it is anymore.
Um,
It's just normal.
it
And,
is.
you know, but it really isn't normal. And for me, once I healed enough, I could see that. And now I almost think of it as we are a traumatized society,
We are.
and we're desensitized to it, because even to the point where some people will say, yeah, I hear you, but everybody has trauma. And I'm going,
Correct.
the fact that we think that's acceptable.
The fact that we say, but everybody, but you're not okay if everybody doesn't have a Stanley Cup,
Yeah, exactly.
right? Right?
Exactly. So, all of this, all of that journey and all of these experiences and what I've walked led me to create the company that I'm launching called Persephone AI. And it seems relatively simple because it's an app where you can stash evidence of abuse if you don't know who to tell and you're experiencing, let's just simplify it and say intimate partner abuse. But the much bigger thing about it is it's by design aggregating data around how prevalent this issue is, and really getting to the heart of how do we break generational trauma on a big scale.
Yeah.
And so for me, this is how I turn my pain into purpose. This is how I try to share with the world something that turned my life around.
Yeah.
And if I can package that in any way that helps even one other person, it's worth it to me. But I think these conversations are just as powerful, because it says, hey, look, don't look at Sarah's life and my life and go, oh wow, good job. Look at it and go, oh wow, that sounds like it sucked, but you
Right.
seem okay. And how do I go from this to a version
Right.
of me that I feel good about?
Right. And so often people look at us. I know from my experience, they'll look at me and they're like, but you have it. I'm like, but you don't understand what it took to get here. You don't understand the hurt and pain, and then you don't understand the judgment and the labels that you put on me. You don't understand why they trigger me, right? You don't get it. And that's why we were created to not hurt each other, to treat others the way we want to be treated, because you don't know the shoes that we walked, or the streets that we walked, and the dust we carried. Right. And that is the hardest part, is we're so quick to judge of, oh, everybody will get over it. And I share this with so many people right now because it's so big to me. And this is so relevant to our conversation, is in our society, we have come to the acceptance and understanding, and use this phrase also often, but I'm going to ask people to just take a moment and hear me. We say that children are resilient, right?
Yeah, we do.
But I'm going to sit back and say, look in the mirror, because you were that child that you said was resilient. And I'm going to ask you that when hard times come and emotions that hurt, do you get up and just keep going? Or are we seen as adults, children who were resilient, experience extreme panic attacks,
Mhm.
debilitating diseases, heart attacks in their 40s, strokes, high blood pressure, all these physical ailments that we just pushing and pushing pills to because we were resilient.
I
The
like this.
bottom line is, resilience is not something you're born with. Just because a child cannot express or have a conversation or even understand their emotions that they're feeling, because it's called emotional intelligence. We'll teach them how to add and divide, but they're just supposed to understand their emotions and feelings. They're resilient. They're not rubber bands. We're not rubber bands.
That's right.
Every single time you stretch us, we're going to stretch a little bit further and we're not going to go back, right? And the resilience that people talk about is false. Resilience is something that's taught. So through you healing and facing those deep, dark emotions, through me healing those deep, dark emotions, we're able to then go and teach our babies about their emotions that they feel in these crucial ages of them understanding emotions. Because there's a chronological age that we process emotions. We start learning emotions. They
Mhm.
say that we lose our children between the age of 7 and 8. And the reason why we lose them is because they already know how to handle their own emotions and they know their response and reactions to them based off of their pre-programming.
And it is programming. And that's a
It's
good word to use.
pre-programming.
Yeah.
And so what we're trying to share and what I'm trying to share is, until you want to reprogram yourself and get clear on your desires, get clear on your purpose, get clear on what you're willing to accept and not accept, you will ride on that pre-programming and you will shut down. And the best way that I can visually describe it is if you have a broken down house, the pipes are leaking, your roof is cracked, the foundation's broken, are you just going to continue to go put patches over all of these things? Or you're just going to demolish, create a new firm foundation where your floor is not cracked, and build from the ground up? Which one's faster? Which one's more affordable?
Right.
And how are you going to get your dream home? Well, your body's your home, your mind's your home. If we remove all these things, that's where you live.
It's where you live. And
It's where you live.
it's really, I feel like so much of especially early childhood trauma that's imprinted on you, that you're absorbing into who and molding your personality around. You will carry it into who you become as an adult, and it will
Yeah.
become such a limiting factor on who you are versus who you want to be and who you try to be, but you keep sort of reverting. And every time you're doing that, for me, it's like you're betraying yourself,
Yeah. It's
because
that battle.
you're
Where do
betraying
you
yourself.
go?
You
Right.
got to get into the nitty gritty of why don't I feel safe? Why don't I feel loved? Why do I think I need to be a people pleaser? Well, you probably think you need to be a people pleaser because you're terrified of being abandoned by people. You want them to like you. You want them to validate you in some way. You probably didn't have the mom, dad, classic caregivers on both sides who told you you were enough just by being who you are. And so now you're terrified of losing anyone. So that's an abandonment wound. Get to the heart of that. Because until you're okay with losing anybody,
Mm.
until you're okay with people judging you and getting it wrong, until you're okay with just saying, you know what, this is who I am and I am so okay with that. And if it makes you uncomfortable, so what? You haven't mastered abandonment. You haven't mastered shame. But once you do, authenticity is your highest frequency. And if you can get there and you can stay there, design your own life.
So what I'm hearing is, until you're okay being human,
Until you're
and
okay being a messy human.
yeah, until you're okay with being perfectly imperfect and learning
Yes.
that the way that we learn is through mistakes.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. How did you learn math? Did you just look at it and be like, I got that answer right? I'm so smart.
Only my 8-year-old
Like,
can do that.
right. I mean, how did you learn to bike? You fell off a few times.
That's right.
How did you learn to walk? Like, again, people think that kids are so resilient because when they fall and they get back up to walk, no, they just haven't learned the reality. Like, they are resilient at that point, right?
Right.
With the physical, because they're determined to move. Some of them aren't. Some of them just like, I'm just going to sit here.
But what is
And
real strength? So like I think even if someone isn't sure what their life purpose is, just going deep on what do I think of as strong? You know, what is real strength? And for me, it would be knowing that no matter what happens, I will get up again. I will get
Yeah.
up again. I will get up again. And I will have always gained some knowledge in the lesson
Yeah.
of falling down. That to me is strong. Strong is knowing that, and power, personal power is no matter what happens outside of me, I can still choose to sit down quietly with myself and feel
Mhm.
joy.
When did you
That's
get to
hard to
do that? Like
do.
I want to share it, but I want to share that with people because that is it's a practice, right?
Yes.
You know, I teach meditation and yoga and breath work, and people look at me like I'm born with this crazy gift. I'm like, no, you guys, it's a practice. And until you're willing to practice it, you're not going to. So, how long, like, how long did it take you to get there to just say, you know what, I'm having a stressful day. I just need to like quiet everything, give me a moment, breathe, and just get to myself? When, how, like, share with people because I think that's a big misconception of that's ridiculous. It doesn't work, or I can't do it. I have monkey brain. Well, we all do.
I
We all
think
have monkey brain.
practice works, but for me, it always felt like it was like a light switch moment where I went, it's a choice. It's a choice. And you're choosing to do it. You're choosing it because you believe you deserve it. And and you do deserve it, but you consciously choose it. So do I get stressed out? Absolutely. Do hard things happen? Yeah. And sometimes I start to feel them get the best of me. And then I pause and I look around and I have, severe trauma and an anxiety issue that I manage every day. And I go, I'm safe. What's happening right now in this moment that's affecting me? Okay, it's a thought process. And then I thought, but do I want to give it my happiness or do I want to choose?
Right.
And then I'm like, I'm going to choose happiness. And it probably, that part of the journey for me, after I was through a lot of self-discovery, I would say it was a solid 2 years of getting to a place where I understood that it was my choice.
I want people to hear that right now. 2 years. And would you say that you're there, or
I think
where would you say in that level that you're still experiencing anxiety? We all will, right? But where would you say in the level of 2 years, mid, a little bit higher, be like where?
I think I'm in the mid because, I believe in stress testing things a bit. And I'm only a few months into feeling like I've kind of accomplished this next layer in healing and growth and moving beyond shame and trying new things and even being willing to fail very publicly in while I'm getting it or not getting it and letting people watch, like
Yeah.
let's see what happens. But until I have a few real life stress and triggers, you got to know, would it work if you were on a sinking ship, you know, or would you go, actually, no, 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 I'm completely riddled with anxiety. So I don't know the elasticity yet of my Zen factor, but I am stress testing it all the time.
What's really cool is, again, I want people to hear the 2 year. So many people come to me and they think that in the coaching realm that in 3 months they're going to be cured and fixed and healed.
Yeah.
And what I share with them is my job is not to be the person to fix and heal. My job is to equip you with the tools,
Yeah.
the expert, the understanding that this is now your journey. It is your choice. It's a choice that you're going to have to make every single day. But when you make that choice, you have to understand it. You have to find yourself. I was under the total misunderstanding when I started my journey. I was like, this is going to be a year process. I'm going to be fast forward many years later, and I am just finally to the point where anxiety attacks don't affect me. And when they do, it's like, what? I
Right.
right? And so it's one of those things that it's not that I don't get stressed, but as I understand it faster because I've understand and found pieces of myself. Just like you said, I'm willing to fail. I'm
Yeah,
willing for people not to like me. People get the confidence definition a little wrong. You know, confidence is having people like you and walking into a room. No, confidence is being willing that people don't like you.
yeah. That's a lot more challenging to do for most people, I think, right?
Because we're in people pleaser, trauma filled,
Mhm.
want to prove our wealth and want to prove our worth, when in all actuality, we're here to help each other. There's no competition. When we take the competition out of it, it's like we're in so many. I mean, I get so frustrated with the women competitions. Like, sister, you do realize I'm here to fix your crown.
Exactly. Right. I mean,
I'm here for you to be the best version of yourself. So because you're a reflection of me, I hang out with you, I'm around you, you're a reflection. I want you to shine because when you shine, I shine.
yeah, the only person I ever compete with is myself.
And that's
Am I
the
better than I was
achievement-ness.
yesterday?
Yep.
I'm proud of who the choices I made and who I showed up as today. And that's the only competition.
And you're teaching three boys, the next generation, of what to do when you do fail and that they're gonna fail
Yes.
and to expect life to happen, but it's what you do when it does happen and be prepared for that. And that is what I think this major thing is when we are here, your pain, your trauma has a purpose. And whether that is to break the next generational cycles, whether it's to create a business for people to have a way out, or it's just to show your friends, whatever it is, to touch one. Just like you said, if we touch one person, then we've done our job. We have created a new pathway for someone to move. That, and speaking of the word pathway, that just goes back to that 2 years. When you can understand the scientific, the neurological aspect of your mind, you will ride on those pre-programmed responses until you heal the lesions, meaning the pain, the trauma, you understand it and create a new neuro pathway. And as you're seeing, as I have seen, it takes time.
And Sarah, that the 2 years was really in almost like there was an entire period of demolition on the house before we were even in the 2 years to rebuild the house.
Yeah.
And the prefacing period involved 140 sessions of trauma therapy and EMDR therapy and really understanding those neural pathways and then a whole slice of time in the middle just trying to get my nervous system to calm down so that I could even feel an emotion outside of fight or flight.
Yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
got into, oh, now I feel like if we were designing a new home, we've done core parts of the rebuild, and I'm to that fun part where you get to go to Home Goods and you're picking out curtains and
Decorate. Oh,
I'm
it's so
like,
fun. It's so I use that same exact. I'm like the foundation's there. I'm decorating is the best. Like
right,
when I got to the point where I was like, man, I get to pick who I am. The person, I'm not even exaggerated. And please tell me and share if this was your case too and where you're at and what you're doing. I found the little me again. I found the girl that they silenced. Girl, she was sparkly. She loved glitter. She didn't care what anybody thinks. She was center of attention, and not because she wanted to be center of attention, but because she loved life and
exactly.
nobody else did. So yeah, the person who was out there loving life and everybody else like judging, and of course that person's going to look like center of attention.
Yeah, I mean, I was
Absolutely.
always really told you're so dramatic.
Oh,
You always want to be
boom.
the center of attention. And
Yes.
for so many years, I was like, I'm actually just trying to be really, really, really small and really not too bright because I know it makes people uncomfortable. We're done with that. I'm gonna be just as bright as I can be. And I really have been able, I think, to cultivate that in my children is a sense of just safety around showing up however they show up. And as a result, I just have these pretty secure, quite flamboyant little boys in my care, and I couldn't be more proud of them.
And that is where we are as mamas, as raising the next generation, to not let the systems break them, change them, have a
Right.
voice for them while they don't know how to have their voice, and teach them and show them the way. And not for us to be their voice, but to navigate for them and advocate for them, because it's our world wants to silence us. Our world wants us to be broken, and you can see it all around you. You can see the people who don't want you to rise up, the people who don't want to support you, the people who say you'll never do that. When somebody told me you'll never make a career out of something that you enjoy, like, watch me,
Yeah. I mean,
just watch me.
who decided life had to always be so hard? And I mean, make no mistake, we've definitely all kind of collectively decided, well, that's just life. Life's not fair. Life is hard. And all of those things are true. And I mean, I'm not immune to it. I've walked it for sure. But there's a lot of liberation in deciding that no matter how hard the external things are, um, the real battle is the one you have with your own mind.
It's the inner peace.
Yeah.
I mean, for me to be able to finally reach a point where everything around me seems like it wants to crumble, because that's the attack, right? When you're about to level up and you're about to do something big, it wants you to go back to that pre-programming.
That's right.
It wants you to say, no, you think that you're good, but you're really not. Let's test this. And these are, I share this all the time, that these are the tests that God's testing me. Whether
Mm-hmm.
you say it's God testing you or whatever, it is a test.
It is a
It is
test.
a test on, are you going to choose which response or reaction?
Are you as strong as you think you are?
Are you
Yeah.
as strong as you think you are? Are you ready to pass this test? Like, you've been studying. Now, like, let's put it into action.
I think right before that 2 year, before we entered rebuild, I wrote on my whiteboard, new levels, new devils.
For sure.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Everything.
And that's, again, I feel that currently in my life. I was telling my husband yesterday and this morning, I said, you do realize that we've been down this road, just a different level.
Mm-hmm.
And now that we're leveling up, that means we're going to another one. And these attacks are going to come, but it's what we do. But what we have done is we have done the work. We have shielded ourselves to understand what's about to happen and then respond in an appropriate manner. And when you could get to that point where, again, the physical world feels like it's like crumbling down and you are just, everything's ripped apart, but you have this sense of knowing and peace,
Get excited.
everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Like,
I like to look at that in those moments of complete and utter chaos. And I just go, oh, I can't wait to see what's about to happen.
I am in that season right now, and I'm just like, okay, ready or not, here we go. Because and I'm excited for it. And I'm excited because when you get to that testing point, you're about to grow.
Yes.
And
Yes.
guess what? They call growing pains because it's true. Like, it's going to be painful.
Yeah.
It's going to be painful. The difference between emotional growing pains and physical growing pains is physical, you can't stop it and stay stuck. You're just going to grow.
Right.
But the emotional, you can stay stuck in the mud. That lotus flower, if I could just think about the pain that it goes through, like, it's in the mud, has to grow through this shell, push through the mud, push through the water to become this beautiful flower, right?
That's right.
I'm ready to be that beautiful flower. Like, take that mud off. I've done so much. Like, I feel like I'm in that water. I'm like about to get to that surface, right?
Right.
But you have to be excited to grow, because if you're not, you will be stuck in that mud.
Yeah, it's definitely, it always helps ground me into the idea when I find a way to be grateful for the lessons and be grateful for the pain. I have experienced a number of traumatic things in my life, and I would not give any of them back.
Yep.
They are mine. I earned them. I'm keeping them. They help forge me into who I am right now. I am proud of my story
My scars.
because that's how I learned. That's how I grew.
Yeah.
Um, I'd be way less okay with stagnancy and no
Yeah,
lessons.
it is so incredible to just, I hope that whoever's watching this, I hope that the biggest thing that you get out of this is wherever you are in life, it's not to keep you stuck and small, it's to grow you. And going back to gratitude, I love to share, my journey. Everybody's like, you're not even using your degree. A big blowhorn. That's complete junk. I use what I learned in physical therapy and medical training every single day. I understand the neurological process, the cellular systems, what it does, what physical is created from traumatic or emotional or spiritual warfare. And what people don't understand is the reason why gratitude kicks out that anger and that fear and that frustration and that anxiety is because it exists in the same part of the brain as gratitude. So fear, anxiety is in the same exact center of gratitude. And so they cannot coexist as one. You either are happy or you're sad. You can't be like, meh. But
Mhm.
we have, this is the craziest thing to me. We have this sliding scale, good, negative, positive, negative. And we'll take the negative and we'll go and slide it towards the positive. That's not how this works. It's a yes or a no. It's black or white. And I know people don't like black or white, but if you're not seeing black or white, you are playing into whatever narrative you want. It's your role, it's your narrative.
You can choose.
Get out of the narrative and choose the concrete. Do you want to feel good? Yes. Then if the answer is yes, then you have to choose to remove all of this by choosing yes.
And if you don't want to feel good, also okay, but get really honest with yourself that you are choosing that. You are
A
choosing the
choice.
negativity. You are choosing to stay stuck in it. You know it's there, but it is not what someone else did to you. It's not the job, it's not the conditions of the world. It's your choice. This is
It's a
about
choice.
hyper accountability. It's all on you.
And when you can do that, and I think again, we both can agree with this, is when we both took ownership of our pain, we
Mhm.
didn't blame it on anybody. We no longer played the victim game.
Right.
We took ownership of our pain, is when it was in our control
And it's when it
and we could
becomes
heal it.
it becomes more powerful.
Oh,
You can look out and say, but that person did this thing to me, and that was so wrong, and life isn't fair, and I didn't deserve that. But where's the part where you're going, but why did I let that person do that thing to me? Why did I put myself in that situation? Why did I think that that was what I wanted, what I deserved? You know,
it
it's
goes back to your question in the beginning. If you ask the answer, if you ask the questions why, you're going to get to the root cause and you're not going to chop the limb off of your branches, which is that person, that place, or that thing. That person or place and thing is just a reflection of what you have to get down to the nitty gritty.
That's right. And when you're a child, you're in like training camp, okay? And if
Yeah.
if you can get there with your children, you're teaching them, hopefully through your own exampling, that what emotional regulation is and how you need to feel those emotions, how it's okay to be angry, how it's okay to be hurt, how it's okay to be sad, how to label them, and then how to let them move through your body, and so
Move.
they don't just stay there with you
Yeah.
indefinitely. And then core values, how to be a good human, what that means. Why do we care about other people? How do we want to live our lives with ethics and morality and all those things? But when you're a grown up and now you're an adult and you're responsible, and maybe you become responsible for other people if you have dependents in some way, it doesn't matter what someone else did to you. It does not matter. It doesn't matter if your parents didn't love you enough. It doesn't matter if they hit you, if they hurt you. It doesn't matter if someone assaulted you or created, crimes against you. It doesn't matter if the world is unkind, if someone has road rage. It does not matter. It doesn't matter. No one cares. The only thing that matters is that you be responsible for how you respond to it.
It's so true.
Do I get to
It's so
tell my
true.
children, "Oh, I'm sorry, mommy hit you"? That's all I know. I mean, I could, a lot of people do. And
Facts.
then what? Well, I can tell you exactly what. Unless they're strong enough to break it, they'll grow up and do the same thing to their kids.
Correct.
And
And
that's
that
why
that
breaking
was a
comes
breaking
from.
point for me.
Yeah, and
That
exactly.
that was a breaking point for me was I decided that I wanted to be the breaking point. I decided that I didn't want to do this. I knew I had baggage, but what I didn't realize was it was so pre-programmed in me that I became that exact person
It's the example you
to
have.
my children.
Exactly.
And it was like, whoa, 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 something's wrong. And I remember sitting and telling my husband, like, I became this person.
Yeah,
Like, you're nothing like them. I'm like, I understand what you're saying. I
but it's
understand what you're
there.
saying, but you don't understand what I experienced and what I'm giving out. This is what I like. This is not okay.
It's not okay.
It's not okay. And whether you agree with it or don't agree with it, it has to change right now because if it doesn't, I will recreate the same cycle.
And
And
pass it.
I'm so grateful and I'm blessed to know and have the power. I really am. And this is the whole conversation. I want you guys to know that you have your power
You do have
to
to.
say, I have a choice and I'm done. I want to take the first step. And the first step is I have to find me. I have to love me. I have to be me. And that is going to be a journey. That's why we're here to share this with you. Is it's going to be a journey.
Yes.
And Ashley, would you say that it was easy to do it without it? Could you have done it without support from others?
No, no, I don't think I could have. I think
Yep.
I don't
Oh, I
think
got
that there
goosebumps.
was one resource. I think it's multiple. I think it's a community effect. But different people that enter your life will get you to different points on your journey.
Yeah.
And those resources are out there. And, it's not one size fits all, but there are some really, really impactful coaches, therapists, mentors, and friends. I would
Yeah.
consider Sarah a friend of mine that we can connect on what these things look like. But those resources are there to just get you started. And it really is, it's a big, complex thing, but it's a simple answer. You just take the first step.
Take the first step. And Ashley, I got the goosebumps right now because I really am so proud of you, not
Thanks.
only for taking the first step to say enough is enough. And I'm not only going to change my life, but I'm going to change the next generations to come, not just one, but many. And not only are you doing that in your generation and your lineage, but you've created an amazing app to people to take the first step. And the first step is, hey, I'm being abused. And I don't know where to go because I don't have a voice, but now I do. And there's so much abuse going on behind closed doors that we don't know. And people put a mask on. And what you're creating is going to expose that. And
Cool.
I hate to say I'm excited because that's not what we should be. But I also say I'm excited because it's time for it to end.
And
It's time for it to end.
for me and for hundreds of people that I've been talking with recently and interacting with online, it feels like it's time for a massive cycle break. It's time.
And that's what we're here doing. You're
Yeah.
creating a web, an app. I'm trying to create a platform for people to wake up and to take their power back and not to just go small, but I want to go big. I want this movement for people to understand, to build their foundation, to take their strength back, and not just on a physical level, to understand that we are three in one. We are the mind, we're the body, and we're the spirit. And if you're just working on your physical level,
Mhm.
why do you think that so many people, and we're going to wrap this up, but why do you think so many people can go to the gym, get on a diet, get on a nutrition, do all these things, but then they're 2 bottles deep
Mhm.
when they get home from work? I was there. I'm not judging you guys.
Right.
I was
Same.
there.
Yeah, it's not about
I'm not.
judging.
It's
It
not
just,
about judgment. I was there.
it's accountability though. It's noticing where those things exist for you
Yeah.
and getting real with yourself. Is it where you want to
Yeah.
be? Why do you think you're feeling that way? What are you running away from? What are you escaping?
Yeah.
Um,
And that's what it is. I get judgments now. I don't drink. And I don't drink because I found my relationship with alcohol. I found myself, why was I drinking 2 bottles a night? And I'm
right,
serious. It was 2 bottles. It was a bottle. It was, it got bad. And it just became my norm. And
right.
I wasn't an alcoholic by any means, but I mean, and the definition, I was drinking more than I should have. This was
But
pre-baby, but still, it was a lot.
but you made a choice.
Made a choice.
Yeah.
And that choice was to understand, to break the next cycle, to understand why I'm turning to a bottle instead of turning inward. And when you can get to that point, you have your power.
I think it's a
You,
great place to for us to wrap, but I like this saying. It's
it is.
if you're not changing it, you're choosing it.
Uh, Facts. So
Yeah.
good, girl. Well, how can people connect with you? What is the app? I want people to understand. Again, we're going to put this out there. I want people to see how would you want people to connect? What do you want? What are you looking for? How can you help?
Sure. I mean, I'm pretty available. So LinkedIn, if you're on the career track, or Facebook and Instagram, if you want to be connected on social media. Persephone AI is the name of the app. It's a discrete app that lurks on your phone where you can stash evidence of abuse. It's the concept is if you don't know who to tell Persephone. Um, and just know that I'm holding your hand now. No one goes through it alone from here on out. And so you can upload attachments, make notes, and then even in 38 states, do audio and video files. And if you like, we will transcribe those for you into text form. And it also does language translation. We're trying to make this as
Mm,
accessible as possible. All of that goes into a final evidence file that you can export to yourself, SOS to the police, and to your safe people, or use in court as evidence. So it's really meant to be empowering for folks that don't really know what to do, but they know that what they're experiencing isn't okay, and they want to safely put those records somewhere.
you guys hear it from the one and only who is creating and moving mountains when she didn't think that there was a possibility. She took her life back. She made a choice. And that is what this is about. It's about making a choice, one choice at a time, not sprinting, but getting unstuck. So, Ashley, I thank you so much for your time. I thank you for showing up and to listen to your call of changing and making a change. And the people out there need this. If you need anything, you can reach out to Ashley. You can reach out to me, www.wakeupwithsarah.com, Instagram. You're here on YouTube, whatever it is, connect. We are here to help. We're here to serve. That is the bottom line. Service is the name of our game. We want people to know they're not alone. So
That's right.
thank you, Ashley.
Thank you,
And
Sarah.
we will continue these conversations soon.
You're a rock star. I appreciate you. Bye.
Thank you.